The seas of Jeju, which were full of foodstuffs throughout the seasons, were always teeming with people. But they weren't the only means of livelihood for the people of the island. People also live here at the foot of Mount Halla. They are people who believe that the spring from which they draw water is an oasis, and their barren land is rich with fertile soil. The land gave as much as they were willing to sweat, and it was through these gifts of the land that they were able to make ends meet. The people of Jeju called this place Utturu. There is a place in Jeju Island which is lower than Mount Halla but higher than the sea. There are people who cultivate the fields of this place. Utturu is the Jeju word meaning upper field. It is the middle ground of the island situated between 200 and 600 meters above sea level. Water is rare in villages that are situated far from the coast. These villages are called middle villages. Yusuan village first appeared because of Yongcheonsu Spring. The old women of the village come to this spring to do their laundry even in the middle of winter. Although their hands must be freezing in the winter winds, they beat their clothes with vigorous strength. They have been coming here to do laundry and chat with each other since they were young.
수돗물은 세탁기나 돌리고 못하지만 내 손빨래 할 것도 많지. 농촌이니까 이 흙 밭에 가서 막 흙탕 허여진 옷이랑 이런 무료랑 다 빨아요. 이게 무료랑 다 빨아지 뜨뜻한. 이거 아침쯤엔 침이 팡팡 나는데 뭐.
The spring water is cool in summer and warm in the wintertime. The people here have a special way of using it. They use the water at the end for laundry, the water in the middle for baths, and the water nearest to the source for washing vegetables. The water which they carry in these jugs, called hobok, is usually drawn near the source of the spring which flows through the center of the village. The cleanest water of the spring is used as drinking water here. To Lee Gil-chun, who has been living in Yusuan village for her entire life, the best place to live is near the spring from which she can draw water all year long.
물 나니까 좋아나 여물 유서만 안 쓰고 옛날에는 속일 장전수도 안 뜯어 먹어놨지 물 넣었으면 여기는 산물 나고 거기는 물 안 나니까.
Back in the olden days, the spring was the villagers' greatest source of pride.
제사 지내고 사제 지낼 때 그런 큰 제 지낼 때도 이 물 떠다 쓰고.
Drinking water is a reason that most villages in Jeju Island are located near the coast. People from these middle villages who did not have any springs would usually collect rainwater to drink. This dearth of water also meant that the land was barren, but the locals removed rocks and tilled the fields in order to grow food for their families. This was also true for the people of Yusuan village. In this way, the people of the middle villages tilled the barren and arid lands between the mountains and the sea in order to make ends meet. Hadokcheon village in Kujwa-up is another middle village. The situation is no different here. It is potato harvesting season here in Hadokcheon village. Due to the dearth of land and distance from the sea, it was difficult to obtain food in the highland villages of Jeju Island. At the time, potatoes were a precious source of sustenance.
제주도는 지금 이제 8월 20일 한 15일부터 파종합니다. 이 감자를. 예, 심으면은 우리 4월 달까지 가만히 그 땅에 놔두고 지금 이거 자기가 하고 싶을 때 이거 파는 겁니다. 예, 캐 가지고. 예, 그러니까 신기하잖아요. 지금 얼질 않으니까 이 땅이 얼질 않으니까 이제.
The ground, which does not freeze, serves as a storehouse. It is a gift of nature to the people who had to move rocks and struggle with the ferocious winds of the island. Nevertheless, life in these barren lands is not easy.
밭에 있는 돌들 너무 돌이 많으니까 기계들이 이제 돌 다 주우는 그런 기계가 또 이제 나오고 있으니까 다 돌을 다 주워 그네 다 버리고 놓고 이제 밭을 또 잘 읽어서 잘 만들어 가지고 이제 이런 특작도 하고 있고 예. 그러다 보니까 아무래도 여자들이 하는 일이 좀 많이 힘들죠.
Potatoes are called chisul in the local dialect. These chisul fields took untold toil and labor in order to cultivate. Hunting pheasants was another way that the people of the barren middle village survived. Since long ago, the women would cook the pheasants that the men hunted, adding other ingredients to increase the size of the dish. The pheasant would be boiled in water before the meat was cut into bite-sized morsels. Buckwheat dough was always added to pheasant dishes. Buckwheat, a commonly grown crop in the middle villages, provided a reliable source of food. When the people fell on hard times, they would eat boiled buckwheat in order to satisfy their gnawing hunger. The combination of buckwheat and pheasant meat makes the perfect food for the wintertime. Buckwheat is said to help with lactation and to clear the blood. Therefore, it was often fed to mothers who recently gave birth.
옛날에 우리 엄마가 해줬던 그 느낌. 저도 이게 덕천이고 원래 태생이 덕천이기 때문에 옛날에 못 살았던 그때 생각하고 이렇게 먹는 거죠. 맛으로 먹는 건 아니에요. 먹고 나면 먹고 있으면 옛날에 우리 엄마 만들어줬던 거 그거 생각하면서 먹는 거죠.
To the people of the middle villages, pheasant and buckwheat noodle soup is a food which brings back memories of tougher times. Aside from the noodle soup, there is another delicacy which is unique to these villages.
꽁요리는 겨울에 저희들 그 마을에서 쉽게 이제 산에나 밭에 나가면 쉽게 잡을 수 있는 그런 새 중에 하나였고 겨울에 그 보양식품으로 그 애들 위주로 허약하거나 감기에 쉽게 걸리거나 하는 애들이 있으면 엿을 해서 먹였었어요.
Recently, members of the Hadokcheon Village Women's Council began making pheasant taffy. They have gathered together with the purpose of restoring a traditional Middle Village food. In order to make pheasant taffy, first a pheasant must be boiled in water. Then its meat and bones must be separated. It takes 2 to 3 days in order to make a batch of the taffy. It is a long and laborious task, so all of the village women are recruited to help.
요즘은 많이 이제 시대가 변함에 따라서 집에서 이렇게 해먹기가 번거롭고 안 하려고 합니다.
After the meat has been separated, the women boil sticky rice. The rice is cooked until it is soggy. Then it is mixed with malt. Once the work begins, they must continue deep into the night. It looks like they will be working all night long. Now they must check to see if the rice that had been mixed with malt has been well fermented. On cold days like today, they can separate the malt from the rice after about 5 hours of fermentation. Then they use the resulting syrup for the taffy. Because this is such a labor-intensive process, it is work that must be done as a team.
도시에서는 그런 생활이 힘들잖아요. 근데 여기서는 같이 어울리고 같이 나눠 먹고 이런 것도 되게 소득사업으로 하면서 같이 서로 이해하고 하니까 저는 여기 살고 이렇게 같이 어울리는 게 참 좋아 보여요.
After another 20 hours of boiling, the taffy finally begins to take on its color. But it isn't done just yet. Now, the women must add the pheasant. They add the meat to the liquid taffy and boil it. This final stage is also quite difficult. But it is only through such effort that this delicious wintertime delicacy can be made. Pheasant taffy was an indispensable source of protein for the people of the middle villages. It is a food replete with the wisdom of the people of Jeju Island.
간식 먹고 하네. 뻥을 갖고 와.
Pheasant taffy has been delivered to a potato factory. Now, as long ago, a spoonful of pheasant taffy is enough to melt away a day's worth of fatigue.
너무 달지도 않고. 아주 잘 됐네.
예, 여기에 대해 그게 안 질기고.
응.
너무 잘 됐어.
자꾸 하다 보니까 이제는 잘하고 있네. 경험이 생겨가지고.
This is the way that the people of the middle villages endured their hardship over the years.
옛날에는 이제 밭에 가서 엄마 일들 도우고 할머니네랑 같이 막 밭에 가 일할 때 겨울에 자꾸 춥고 막 이러잖아요. 그러면 감기도 걸리지 말라고 해가지고 밭에 간식으로 와서 한 수저씩 이렇게 먹었던 기억이 나죠. 이번에는 또 해봤습니다. 그 옛날에 먹었던 그런 추억이 만들고 아주 좋네요.
Now, such stories are but distant memories from the past. But here in the middle villages, you will still meet a people with an iron will who have overcome countless hardships in their struggle to survive.